Everybody always kind of usually asks, bye week, is it a good thing? And you can kind of take that either way. It was a much needed bye. It was a much needed break for a lot of different ways. Obviously, our bye was kind of moved around and mixed around based on the USF game and things that got flipped because of the hurricane. But I think it came at a good time, and it came at a really tough time. To come off a bye, off of a big victory, I think that you can build from some momentum, use it in the right ways. A bye after a loss like we had, one that's just gut-wrenching, that comes down to overtime, and you have all the chances in the world to win the football game, makes it very difficult. And I think you heard some of our guys say that I wish we really played. I wish we got to go right back out and play, because that taste in your mouth after a game like that is very difficult. But it was an opportunity for us to get away. And I don't mean away. We practiced on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, lifted on Friday, gave them basically the rest of the day Friday, Saturday, and came back later on Sunday night to get back to work. But it was a time for those guys to kind of get away and relax their minds a little bit, not prepare for a game, to kind of have a weekend where they could take a couple deep breaths. They're not going to heal up. Their shoulders aren't going to feel any better. Their ankles aren't going to feel any better. That's not what it's all about, but it's about an opportunity for you to get away, kind of clear your mind, and kind of refocus, figure out what it is that we have to do and moving forward. And that's what we talk about. We got 1 month guaranteed to us. We got 1 month guaranteed to us, and what are we going to do to make a difference? They've asked me several times. We had some of the seniors and kind of sat down and talked about it, and they asked, "Hey, Coach, tell me, what is it we can do different?" And it's really difficult to pinpoint one specific thing. It's just not the way it works. But after me having a little bit of a weekend to reflect a little bit, I kind of came back to the idea that, hey guys, this month that's guaranteed to us has got to be about discipline. And we got to do a lot of different things discipline-wise. And I don't just mean on the football field. I mean in everything that we do to give us an opportunity to continue to move forward. And that's kind of been the focus. And if you're a disciplined football player, guess what? You play a lot better. You play faster. You can take some more chances. You can be more aggressive because you're in the right position. You're doing the right things. Just like tackling. You can be a lot better tackler if you're disciplined in what you do. You can take some shots. You might miss a tackle. But if you're disciplined to miss it with the right leverage and those kinds of things, good things will happen. So, there's a chance for us to kind of get away, obviously, and then now kind of get back to the focus to figure out what it is that we need to do to move forward, to give us this opportunity that's guaranteed to us of a month, and how do we get better, and how do we maximize this.
A lot of times during bye weeks, coaches talk about self-scouting. Is that something you do?
Yeah, I mean, offensively, defensively, and special teams, we will always take a peek at what it is we're doing. Is there some things that come up over and over and over again? And, we had one against Marshall. They're 100% when they do this, and then they go into the game and they're 100% the other way that they did it, probably because they self-scouted themselves a little bit. We'll do those things. We have done those things. There's not a whole bunch of things that we're going to change and be a lot different than, but just the tendencies of the things that you're doing, whether that's special teams, whether that's offense, whether that's defense. It gives you that opportunity and allows you to do some of those things you probably don't do on an every week basis. We try to still, because we have enough people around now that kind of takes a game and really tries to kind of look at it from an objective perspective to tell us, hey, if there are some tendencies of things we're doing, you just got a little longer time to do it on a bye week.
Obviously, you can't reinvent the wheel with 1 week.
No, and I think that's probably where we could make our biggest mistake. If it's going to be about discipline, if it's going to be about consistency, it's not in the bye week realizing, oh, you know what? We don't run inside zone very well, so let's change the way we run inside zone. Hey, we don't run quarters coverage very well, so let's change how we run quarters coverage. When in reality, that's not the way you get better. The way you get better is figuring out what are those things that you do and how do you enhance them and how do you get better at them.
What makes you optimistic for these last 4 games? Obviously, the schedule statistically is a little easier, but what do you look at and say, put your hand in?
It starts with the attitude. It starts with the attitude. I mean, our best 3 practices were probably last Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And to be honest with you, obviously I was out there ready to roll, and you're never quite exactly sure what you're going to get. Bye week, guys. I went down there in the training room on Tuesday morning or something, and there are guys down there in the training room last Tuesday morning. My ankle's kind of bad, my knee's kind of bad. My shoulder's kind of hurting me. I know. I told you it wasn't going to heal up. And then you have a team meeting, and you kind of try to get them focused in and really hammer upon the things, and have a senior talk, with those guys, and hammer upon some things that we got to be able to do. And sure enough, those knees that were bothering, those ankles that were bothering. I wasn't really sure. I wonder how this guy's going to come out on Tuesday. All of a sudden, we have the most spirited practice. We have the most competitive practice. We got guys battling one another. We actually had some unfortunate, some skirmishes, some fights, and some things you got to break up. And you look back and you say, you know what? I didn't say it was ever an effort issue. And it's not not willing and not wanting to do it. So that's what gives you that optimism that hey, how did they come out on Tuesday? How did they come in on Wednesday? Did you have a bunch of guys that their shoulders hurt more, their ankles hurt more, and especially did you have some of those older senior guys that obviously aren't where they want to be, but all of a sudden use the bye week as a time to, hey, I'm going to rest up my body and heal my body. That's not the case, and so you're optimistic about that. Because it comes down to the attitude, and I think that's where we got to make sure discipline and attitude is where we got to go.
Well, Tulane, they're improved. I think people in the football world know that. What, for the person outside who doesn't know what's going on down there,
No, I think they've had some consistency. I don't know what year is this, year 3 from or year 2. I mean, some consistency in the things that you see offensively. I think they play sound defensively too, and that's where it really comes back down to. If you kind of break down their games, you'd say, hey, the last 2 weeks they got beat up pretty bad. But almost a little bit into some of the things that happened to us, all of a sudden they get down 35-0, and then you see a different team. They get down against USF 34-0, and you see a team that happens to battle back. So, I think those last couple weeks are just not really indicative to who they are. But you can see when you see a consistency in a program, a consistency in offense, defense, and special teams. They're a program that's getting better at what they do. So they've got some talented players. The quarterback offensively is going to keep him in a lot of things because his ability to run the football, his ability to run the option, which obviously makes it difficult on everything that you do. And I think up front wise, defensive line wise, you can see the consistency they've had, and it's been. That's probably been their strong suit.
You mentioned you got a month guaranteed to you. And obviously, if you got to go 4-0 to reach full eligibility. Is that something that comes up?
No, I don't talk a lot about it. I make sure it's about the big picture. It's about the journey, because if something doesn't go well, then you got to go back and restart over again. The reality is we got a 1 month guaranteed to us. How we handle that 1 month will determine, what other options we have. But we got to make sure we understand it. It's 1 month. We work out 285 days now. That's what we say. If in a true full year, 285 days for a guaranteed 12 opportunities to go play this game of football. And right now we're guaranteed 4 left for, in theory, 285 days of work. If that doesn't motivate you, if that doesn't make you realize that all the work and all the things you've done, what would you ever go backwards? Why would you ever, tank it, or why would you ever not have the right mindset? You've already put in 270 of those 285 days, and you got four paydays guaranteed to you, and we got to do our best job.
Did you wonder if your players would still have that kind of attitude, have them apply late in the season and wait till the season is gone? I think it's easier this kind of you're a player.
You would, and I don't know. Be honest with you. Again, maybe I think a little bit different, and I've never been in this situation. Back to whatever. I mean, probably almost any sport that I can imagine. But the reality is, when all you focus on when the beginning of the year, if we said, hey, this is about winning a championship, this is about winning a championship, we didn't do that. This is about the consistency. This is about getting better. This is about the journey. This is about how you play at the end of the year. Because you don't want to set yourself up for failure, and you don't know. I mean, what's really deep down inside those guys is chests and hearts, and this is what we're finding out. This is what we're finding out. Everything when it's 0-0, and everybody in the country's got the same goals and aspirations and beliefs that, hey, we got a chance to win. We got a chance to win win the championship, win, whatever that might be, win the league. Everybody's got that same kind of feel, and then as things go, you really find out what they're really made of. You really find out what's deep down inside. Do you take pride in this? I kind of try not to look. I know that if it was the record was 8-0 or 7-1, you'd be looking at it. It's not, So I try not to look at it. I say, hey, what do we need to do? What do we need to do to continue to move forward? And as a leader, you can't approach things a whole lot different whether you're 7-1 or 2-6. You got to make sure it's about the consistency. It's about your energy, your ability to pick up, lift up, and motivate these guys every day. You know, sometimes it becomes a little bit more difficult when you're in tougher situations, but you got to find the things. I know for me, pride is an incredible thing. You know, sometimes it's you know, I don't want to get to biblical reference, but I want to say the pride before the fall, but the pride that you take in what it is that you do every single day, you know, regardless of what the record is. You know, the pride that you take in going out there to get better at what you're doing. You know, if you don't love this sport, then it'll humble you. And you'll be knocked down, and you'll just be ride yourself on emotions. So, I think, and I didn't talk. A couple of years ago, I made our guys do an exercise, you know, and that was when, you know, I had a group of guys that were pretty cerebral and always trying to challenge them mentally, and I had them write a little paper, you know, during the season. What comes first, winning or fun? You know, and you really tried to. It's amazing how many of those guys, what they came up with, and the different things. But it made me articulate and think about those kinds of things. And to me, it's about having fun, you know. And some guys would say, well, you can't have fun if you don't win. And winning's a hell of a lot more fun. I understand that. But if you have pride in the things you're doing, if you love what it is that you do, if you love the game of football, then you play it every single day, you know, regardless of what the score is. If you love what it is you're doing, that's what you have fun doing, then you're a competitor. It doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're down 25. I know it hurts. I know it's hard. But you got to find that deep down inside you, and you got to challenge those guys to make sure that they understand that, you know, because it's really easy when things are well and when you're, you know, 0-0, and you got these same goal, all your goals and things are aligned. You know, you got to dig down. You got to find out what's deep inside that and what really motivates you. Is it just winning? If it's just winning, you're gonna this game's gonna kill you. You know, but if it's a passion for playing the game, it's a passion for competing, it's a passion for getting better, we got a chance to handle this.
You've mentioned a couple times that you want the seniors to be successful closing out their careers. You talk about the big picture for those guys, but for you, the picture is much bigger. I mean, do you ever find yourself thinking, well, my journey is like maybe 3 or 4 years down the road, and maybe one day I'm going to look back at this one this season and think, this is where we come from. Look how bad things were this first year.
No, we'll wait till after the season, but because that's not fair to some of those older guys. But when we did talk, I mean, just amongst us, you know, their leadership will be evaluated on how they leave the program as opposed to how they took it over. You know, so whether those seniors walk out of here and we do what we need to do the next 4 weeks and end this thing on a great note, or we don't, or however it goes, we don't know. You know, but those seniors, when they walk out of here, how those guys that are in those rows behind them, how they come into that next season will be directly determined on what kind of leaders they really were. If those guys tank it, then yeah, it'll be a hell of a lot harder to move forward with the program, no matter what finishes at the end of the season. You know, so I keep reminding them that, you know, the pride that they'll take in us, in the program, the things that happen, even after they leave, that's how they're measured as leaders, as guys that set an example, as guys that help change a culture. You know, whether they go out of here with, you know, 6-6, or they go out of here not that way. You know, and I think that's what you just got to continue to, and that's what we've done from the day we walked in here, is making sure they understood those kinds of things, because nothing's guaranteed to you. You know, it's a lot easier, and you don't maybe hear those messages as deep, because what you're seeing is, you know, the pot at the end of the rainbow, you know, the championships and those kinds of things that we all have the goals and dreams of having. So, you know, some of those things were kind of set, but again, that's why we try to pull on the pride and the things that these guys have, and not just in themselves in the game of football, but in the program, the things that they talked about when we started this thing. You know, you got to earn the CPAW, you got to represent the CPAW, and then you got to own the CPAW. You know, and that just doesn't happen in 8 months. That just doesn't happen in 4 years. You know, it's a hell of a lot more when you walk out of here to know what it is that you left behind too.
What about you? Do you think?
I don't think a whole lot about myself, you know, and when we have time, when the season ends, we'll you know, a lot of people start to feel bad for us. I just send you text messages and, hey, it's a journey. I know my former players like to remind me, hey, Coach, you always talked about it's a journey. It's not a destination. Don't worry about the destination. I know it's good to hear from them, because they're just reiterating the things that I always said. But in the moment, it's a little bit more difficult, you know, and I probably don't allow myself, because, like I said, I think about those guys who are in that front row. You're not going to get much more out of me over that.
Let me try this one more. When Mick Cronin was here the program was destined. He had to go out and get junior college players, and he suffered through 2 really difficult years. And now, he has a top 25, top 50 program. And he tries not to look back on his first couple of years, but I guess you must know, in order to keep going, you have to think it's going to get better. I know I'm going to look back on.
Well, if you didn't believe in what it is that you're doing, if you didn't believe in, some people would say, hey, why would you ever take, somebody say, why would you ever take such and such job? They've never won there before. Well, that's what I do. I win. I have an opportunity to change it. I remember one of my former coaches, told me, hey, if you ever go to take a job, make sure you take the right one. I'm like, what's a right one? If you really believe in what you do and you believe that you can change things and you believe in your abilities, whatever that program is, you're gonna believe you can turn it and change it and make it. And I'm not saying that's here because obviously they've got a history. But yeah, it's a part of the journey. I've talked to Mick a little bit, in the last few weeks about some of those things, and guys try to remind you that. But when you're living in the moment and you're in that time, that might make you feel a little better, But the reality is, you got to live in the moment now, and we got to find a way to make this thing successful, and we got to find a way to finish this thing the right way, and we got to find a way to appeal to these seniors to make sure they understand that, it is about what they've earned, what they represent, and ultimately when they walk out here, what they own.
The younger guys, are you seeing after 8 game weeks and a bye week, maybe some of the freshmen or sophomores that are starting to make a move and look a little bit better?
They are. Last week we had a lot of that. We got opportunity at the end of practice to have a good 20, 30 minutes every day with even some of those guys that are redshirted. Even some of those guys are only playing on special teams, and they continue. But this is the time of year, and like I said, I haven't been in a situation like this that, hey, the freshmen are starting to come on. I know, but the toughness, and usually when you see, even when you were having great years, you had some freshmen that by the 7th, 8th game, it's when they started to hit that wall, and we can't allow that. We can't have that. But it's more difficult, I think, right now, even for some of those young guys. Because it is all new to them. It is all different to them. But with that being said, there's a growth. They're becoming better football players. Them handling everything is, I think, what starts to get overwhelming on them. And that's why we have to have, as a coach, as a leader, you got to have the right mentality. You got to be able to find a way to make this fun. You got to find a way to make this energy still be about what it's all about, because if not, those young guys in particular are the ones that are really hit that wall and can begin to struggle. And I don't just mean in football. I mean in everything that they're doing. So there are coming. We are using them a lot more. We are, even in the bye week of giving them an opportunity to play, and that's what they love to do. But it's now about the ability to sustain and, do everything the right way.